Hey, it's Maximo and welcome to Maximo's Travels. It's a glorious day in Osaka and we're exploring it. Our first stop is Osaka Tower. I hadn't pre-booked and there was a fair bit of waiting to do. 40 minutes at the start just to get tickets and heaps of queuing inside the tower itself. But once I got up to the top, I was greeted with perfect conditions, fantastic visibility, and breathtaking views of the city of Osaka. I went well outside my comfort zone and strode out onto a metal grate and a metal fence that jutted out and overhung the tower. This wasn't for the faint of heart or people with a fear of heights. We then walked to the Kuromon Market and saw plenty of vendors selling fish, produce, and different foodstuffs. This was followed by a quick tour around the amazing BIC Camera Store. We then walked to the famous Dotonbori Food Street and its river. No visit to Osaka would be complete without taking a selfie of the Glico Running Man sign on Ebisu Bridge. And we visit a couple of Osaka's famous covered shopping streets, or shotengai. Join us as we explore the unique and vibrant city of Osaka, Japan. It's our second visit to Osaka in Japan, and we arrived there quite late in the afternoon. Sunset in March is around about 6 p.m. and after checking in, we set out in the early evening for something to eat. It was great to be in Osaka again, and the nightlife, the food, the vibe is just really amazing. There are so many fantastic places to eat. We were headed to a restaurant that specialises in vegetarian and gluten-free soba noodles. I'll do a separate video of all our food experiences in Osaka, as well as our experience going to an authentic Japanese whiskey bar in 2 separate videos coming up shortly. And even though it was quite cold, around about 6 to 8 degrees Celsius, it was fun walking around the city streets at night and walking past so many bars and different eateries, all jam-packed with people. We had a lovely dinner of soba noodles and continued exploring the area around Dotonbori and Dotonbori River. It was good to stretch the legs after a long day travelling from Shikoku Island. It was quite cold, so we didn't hang about too much and decided to get an early night and head back to our hotel. We were staying at the Mercure Tokyo Stay Osaka number, and I'll do a detailed review of this hotel also in a separate video. We got back to the hotel, headed to our room, and had a very sound sleep.
The following day,
it's great to be in Osaka again. The sun's shining, beautiful blue sky. It's a little bit windy and still a bit cold. It's only about 6 degrees Celsius, which would be about low to mid 40s in Fahrenheit. So we're going to tour around the city and check out all the great attractions that Osaka has to offer. Osaka's a lovely city with wide, clean boulevards, and the city's laid out in a grid, so it's quite easy to navigate your way from one place to another. It was an absolutely gorgeous stay as we made our way to our nearest train station, stopping every so often to take pictures of manholes, amongst other things, as well as some footage of the streets and shops, as well as steam coming off that hot asphalt. We were travelling 20 minutes or so from Namba Station to Tsutenkaku Station on the Midosuji subway line. We were headed towards Osaka Tower, one of Osaka's most prominent features in its skyline. And I've got to say, we were a lot more successful using our Pasmo cards and phone apps than some of the other tourists we saw that were struggling with the concept. It was around about 9:30 a.m. on a Thursday morning, and I think peak hour had just passed. As a consequence, the trains weren't that busy. Thank goodness. We hopped on board a carriage and rode for about 5 to 6 minutes and stopped at a couple of stations until we reached our destination. Namba Station is quite a busy station, and it appeared most of the people were getting out here, so we found a seat without any difficulty whatsoever.
a few minutes later,
After a short ride, We got out of the subway station into the bright sunshine, headed down quite a large boulevard and shopping street, and in the distance loomed Osaka Tower. This is known as Tsutenkaku Tower in Japanese, hence the name of the subway station. At this point, Joe and I split up. I wanted to go up the tower and Joe wanted to do some shopping in the nearby shopping streets. I hadn't pre-booked a ticket and I got here right on at opening time at 10 a.m. and there was already quite a queue of people waiting to get in with a 40-minute wait time. I was quite lucky to actually get in. If you're coming in summer months, it is advisable to book online in advance a number of days ahead of time because it often sells out for the whole day. If you're young and adventurous, you can skip the line and going on the slider ride, which is a slide all the way down the tower from the top to the bottom. But seeing as that's not very mature or discerning, I decided to give that a miss. And as usual in Japan, you are distracted with a number of things whilst in queues waiting to get in. Tickets cost 1,000 yen to go into the observation deck or 1,300 yen to add the open air top deck to your visit. It was a beautiful day and I did want to go to the upstairs open air deck, but the ticket to this was separate and needed to be purchased from the observation deck once you got up the tower, and the additional ticket was cash only. The tower is open from 10 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. with the last entry at 7 p.m. And by the way, that is the underside of the tower. It didn't look all that substantial, but it's been standing since 1958 through many different earthquakes, so I presumed it'd be alright. The entrance to the ticketing office of the tower is downstairs and underground. There is a lift for those that are mobility impaired, and the queue seemed to be, well, endless. This queue goes on forever. At least there's some heating down here. I finally made my way to the ticketing office and bought my ticket using my credit card. And for those of you that are slightly more adventurous than I am, the slide ends up right beside the ticketing office. So all the people have a fantastic view of all the terrified people arriving at the end of that slide. Having bought my ticket, I had to line up to get into the lift. I thought this was the lift all the way up to the top, but it wasn't. This is the first of many lifts that we needed to take, and they certainly squeezed quite a few people in these lifts. You really had to breathe in to make room. The elevator only went up a couple of levels and you had to queue again and walk past quite a few bits of merchandise and gachapon machines. And I think this has been done as a clever way to start spreading people out and as a way to get people past more merchandise, to tempt them to buy more souvenirs and to tempt them to have a photo taken of them. After queuing for another 10 minutes or so, it was time to get in the main lift up to the top of the tower.
Tower.
probably tell, the relative tranquility of the elevator soon gave way to quite noisy and screaming kids in the observation deck. Osaka Tower has a total height of 103 metres and the observation deck stands at 91 metres. The original tower was built in 1912 and severely damaged by fire in 1943. A lot of its steel was used during the war. It was rebuilt and reopened in 1956. Apart from the observation tower being busy and noisy, it has an old world charm and look about it, and this can be attributed to its rebuild in the 1950s with a design aesthetic harking back to the turn of the century. It's still one of the tallest structures in Osaka and it has commanding views of the whole of Osaka. It costs an extra 300 yen to go up to the roof and they only take cash. It was a beautiful day with light winds and therefore the roof was open. As I mentioned just before, you do need cash to come up here and it's 300 yen per person. Access to the roof isn't guaranteed because it's closed during windy or stormy weather. Also, there isn't a lift to come up to the roof, so you need to take a couple of flights of stairs until you're out into the sunshine. Compared to the lower observation deck, there weren't anywhere near the number of people up here. I guess people might have an issue with heights. And if you don't have an issue with heights, you can be brave enough and stand on a ledge that takes you over the edge of the building. Oh my god, this is right over the edge. Oh my goodness, it's right over the edge. Oh my god. Oh, it's moving around too. Was a little bit terrifying and, well, outside my comfort zone. Of course, Joe was nowhere to be seen anywhere near this tower. I am glad I did it though, and the view from up here was absolutely fantastic. Blue skies, no haze, and you could see for miles and miles and miles. I took a lot of video and photos from up here as we got uninterrupted views of Osaka. Reflection free, and there were some fairly widely spaced safety wires so you can easily stick your camera through and take absolutely stunning footage. The visibility was so good you could see the city of Kyoto in the distance. The rooftop has a second higher level and I climbed up there to get away from the unruly kids that were running around the lower level. Not the sort of place that kids should be running around, in my opinion. And the views from up here were even better than the lower levels. The weather was perfect. I couldn't have asked for a better day if I tried. I just walked down the stairs to the fourth floor, or fourth level. A bit brighter and a bit calmer. I'm going to get the lift down. We also had the queue going down each of the lifts, although the queue length and wait times was nowhere near as bad as it was coming up. So there's a museum on the third floor. It was the original tower from the 1920s. There's also some sort of weird hockey cafe in here as well. There were opportunities to buy stuff at just about every point and every level in the tower. All up, I spent about an hour and 3/4 at this tower, and I would estimate that at least an hour was spent waiting in lines either to get in or waiting in line for lifts to go up and to go down. And this was on a Thursday and in off-peak season. I can only imagine how busy it would be during the summer months when it's full of tourists. I met up with Jo again on the street, and by this stage she had finished her shopping, and both of us walked to our next destination. We did stop for a coffee and a bite to eat along the way. Our next stop was Kuromon Market, a 1.5 kilometre and 20-minute walk away. It was an easy walk and easy to navigate between the two attractions, and we walked through an older part of Osaka that looked like it had been built between World War I and World War II. Kuromon Market is a public covered market that stretches around 600 metres. The market has around 150 shops that sell fish, meat, produce, as well as sweets, clothes and homeware. The market dates back to the Edo period, which is around 1600 until about the 1860s. They are huge. Lots of queue for sushi, right? I think we'll be going somewhere else today. Goodness, that's a lot of people. Golf stuff as well. The BIC Camera Stores are absolutely incredible. There's 6 stories of everything you possibly think of. They sell games, toys, anime figures, golf clubs, and yes, even cameras. We left the Kuromon Market area and walked 10 minutes or so to the Ebisu Suji shopping street. Try saying that after you've had a few sakis. This is one and probably the biggest covered shopping street in Osaka, and you'll find hundreds of different shops here including several arcade game shops and this one that has hundreds of claw machines. I really don't know why these are so popular, as I've never actually seen anyone win anything from one of these machines. It's also a pretty good place to go people watching, and I've got to say, this dude certainly knew how to dance. Look at him go. We kept walking down Ebisu Suji shopping street. There was so much to see and a lot of people, a hell of a lot of people. And quite a few Western as well as Chinese tourists too. We kept on walking down the whole length of the shopping street until we came to the hugely famous food street in the heart of Dotonbori. And there seemed to be thousands and thousands of people just milling around this street, taking selfies, photos and videos. This is the vibrant heart of Osaka. They are incredibly expensive. Sirloin steak, $130. $55 for premium steak. I did feel like eating a nice piece of steak, but not at those prices. I certainly gave it a miss. What have we got there when I turn my back?
Melon pan with
Sweet.
ice cream.
And what's it like?
Nice.
Nice. It's a bit chilly to be eating ice cream. But when in Rome, right?
Exactly.
Well, you enjoy that.
You can only get Sakura ice cream at this time of year.
Can you?
Because it's cherry blossom season.
Right, okay. I'll let you enjoy that. We kept walking along Third Street and battling the huge crowd. It was an assault on the senses. The sights, the sounds, the smells. Everywhere you looked was movement and colour. It was actually hard to walk in a straight line, and every so often I'd lose sight of Joe. And even though it wasn't the peak season, it seemed busier than the first time we visited about 3 years prior. And if you're wondering why this dragon is crying, it's because its tail belonged to the property next door, and when that property underwent renovations, the dragon's tail had to be removed as it wasn't on their property. And ever since, this dragon has had a tear in its eyes, crying about its lost tail. We wandered through the food street for about an hour or so before the crowds got the better of us, and we ended up in Ebisu Bridge over the Dotonbori River. Oh, there's the famous Glico man. The Ebisu Bridge, with its vantage point of the Glico Running Man sign, is probably the most famous and recognisable spot in Osaka, and as a consequence is probably one of the busiest spots in Osaka as well. There are so many people here, both night and day, most of them taking a selfie and then heading off. It's a perfect spot to do people watching and set up a camera with a time lapse. We started heading back to the hotel for a well-earned rest. We headed towards it via the Shinsaibashi Suji shopping street. I don't think I've ever seen more people in a shopping street in the whole of my life. I'll let the video play so you get a sense of it. It was a long and tiring day touring around Osaka, but thoroughly worth it. Osaka would have to be Japan's most vibrant and colourful place to visit. We made it back to the hotel and had a nice rest before venturing out in the evening for dinner. I will do a separate video of some of the vegetarian and gluten-free restaurants we visited whilst in Osaka, so look out for that video when it drops. I do hope you've liked this video. If so, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Hit that notify bell so you'll never miss another upcoming video. If you'd like to support my channel, please consider buying me a coffee or hit that super thanks button. Until next time, you take care and bye now.